Now let's see. We're working on the princess seamed gown of velvet. We've backed our velvet through the torso with cotton. You can use poly cotton. That's been stitched down. We've cut notches in the curve. This is the center front right here. So we have a sweetheart neckline. It's been notched at the very center, so we never lose that. And here's the thing next. You look at that curve, and you look at this curve, and you be like, how in the world you going to make those two opposing curves fit together? That's where the clipping comes in. See, when you clip, everything stretches out straight. Not only that, but then it can also go the other way and form the other curve, which is what we need here. Pretty serious curve, okay? So basically the first thing you want to do, instead of cutting a notch out, sometimes I forget, and this is a better way in my view, just make a snip in where the notch goes. Then it becomes a little easier. So, also, we start way up here and match the two areas together that are going to be the seam. The seam starts at this, not that, this. So, if we match where the seam is on here, about there, then, as I probably pointed out in another video, you end up with this little wedge. See that wedge? That's all okay, because you're going to start sewing there. And this is a case where I will go sew this around the curve by hand, a hand basting, because I just want to go and carefully put these edges together and work it, kind of working it over your fingers and hands so that everything forms. You know, you don't want to get too far ahead and create tucks. No, you just want to let the fabric lay against the other fabric and work your way around that curve. And then I pin it. I'm pinning just inside the top stitching, which put the two other layers together. I'm working my way around. You get it out to that bust point, it gets really curvy, but you can make it. You can make it. You just keep forming it, and because it's velvet, it kind of presses together like Velcro, which I find to be very handy, if I didn't say that before. Then we're almost around the curve. It's going to go way in towards the under bust, and we still have clips. And even though this notch didn't seem right to me, because usually a front notch is only the simple point instead of this, but you know, I just make it work. So, not pulling too much, because this is going to get, you know, a little bit fussy. I want it to be matched up. I want the velvet to be matched up, and I like to squish it together like Velcro. Then another pin. And we're almost past the curvy part. Yeah, my notch pretty much hit almost the center of that. So you know, it wouldn't have worried me if it was off slightly, because the bottom line is you make the two layers fit together. Now we're coming past the underbust. Once I sew it down to there by hand, then I can do it somewhat by machine, at least to get through this area that has these layers. So the layers are designed to sort of meet at about the same place. This covers the torso on the inside. So, all right, I'm going to hand sew these areas together. Again, keeping notches up towards me so I can see where I'm going. I don't want to get a needle and pinch this in one way or the other. I want to make sure I'm going in the right direction and not getting anything. See how this wants to bunch in here? That part, don't worry about it. You're just worrying about getting that seam sewn. Okay? I'm going to do that with needle and thread. I don't probably need to show you that. No, I don't need to show you that. You have that much good sense, right? All right, the next. Okay, so I've hand sewn stitches all around the bust area. Hand basted, because I wanted that shape. I don't want any mistakes by sewing it on the machine, basting on the machine. I don't want it sliding all over. You can see I went well below the bust. So now, keeping the notched side facing up, I'm going to go ahead and sew on top of the basting and get that sewn on the machine. And I'm really just following, move my stitch up a bit. Just inside the base stitch. Great thing about the base stitch is it held everything in place for you. Once you get these curves done, wow. And I do take it kind of slow. I don't try to rush it because basted or not, you can just, it's just so easy for something to slip, and then you have to remove the seam or pop out stitches, and you just, yeah, you'd be crying. So we're almost through to that. All right, now that is sewn together. See, when we open this out, if I can get it in view, you're starting to see a nice bodice. And you're going to want to just finger press what you've done gently. It's velvet. You know, velvet can crush, but you can, it's a little bit tougher than you think. So you're finger pressing this, and then, you know, see how your notches really spread out? And look what happened here. All of those crimped in. So there's the next little trick you have to learn. You have to clip that side. So what you want is a really good pair of scissors that you trust. Where are mine? Okay, I think I found them. We're just going to have to cut these little V's. That's better. As soon as you see a little thing, I go in and then out. And just keep readjusting every inch or so, in and out. In and out. Out at the bust point, it gets really important to do that because it's such a, I don't know what you'd call it, a steep curve, a high mound. Yeah. Okay, maybe one more, maybe two. And you have to be so careful that you're not going to clip anything else, but you can do it. See? It can be scary. I get it. I get it. Really, I do. I get it. Okay. Now, yeah, that's going to lay much better. Much, much better. Because all that bulk is gone. If I happen to install bra cups right in here, everything will lay smooth on the outside. There's your outside. Sewn. in pretty good shape. Hasn't been steamed yet. And little tiny itsy bitsy things like that, not something to worry about. Sometimes once it's on the body, much of it corrects. So now I'm going to sew just to the bottom of this cotton, and I'll be hand basting the rest of the skirt because I want to be able to easily rip that out so I can do the ornamentation on each panel of the princess gown. So, in case I haven't said, I use this zipper foot with the needle on this inside because the foot then stays within the seam, and it does pretty good. I know you're probably saying, use the walking foot. Well, that's a great idea. You should probably do that. Mine, I don't know. I just never got into it that much because the screw that I was provided does not really fit properly. It doesn't hold the thing in. And when you have cotton on the back, you know, for some reason it stabilizes it much better and you get a much better seam. Of course, the area that I'm not going to have the backing on, that's going to be trickier, and that's another reason why I will hand baste it. Even if I take it out, I will hand baste it back in because just trying to sew it, no, that doesn't work. It's just going to go out everywhere. But I feel pretty comfortable going this far down with a permanent seam that just passes the torso on this girl who is not very tall. And as if I haven't said before, I am pinching the edge a little bit with putting pressure down with my 3 fingertips. Always keep those fingers out of the way though. Have you ever hurt yourself? I have. Ooh, not that long ago I went right through my finger. Ooh, it's all better. Okay, here I am at the ironing board, and I know this is going to scare some people, but I've sewn both bust bodice princess seams together. I've notched them, and I've done a little bit of finger pressing, you know, nothing too hard because it is velvet, tricky velvet. But here is my little trick. You can't press this from the front. Remember that. You can't. However, I can take a pressing hand, and because, you know, this area is not exactly a bust shape, but it's kind of close, so I can put this over there so you don't have any, you know, tucks, nothing like that going on. And I can put this over there, form it out pretty good, get everything out of the way so nothing else is going to get affected. Pull it around, it's nice and smooth. You see that? Are you seeing that? Yeah. So, and then I've got my iron on steam, and here's what you can do. Give it a test. Make sure you got something going on. And then you hover. You can simply hover. And I touch that and I can feel that it received a little bit of warmth. I never touched it. I never touched it. Okay? And then you can just ease those out a little bit. So, see how smooth? And it did not affect the other side. That's another good reason. Kind of hard to see. Another good reason to have this backing.